Ladies and gentlemen, you know what you're looking at on my screen is FBI data versus data that the media found when it comes down to police shootings. So, what you see in the light blue is the data that the FBI have. And when the Post did their own research, they found big discrepancies in how these police departments report police shootings. In fact, the majority of police departments in America are not even reporting the police shootings to go into the FBI data. It's a hell of a difference when you look at 2021. They reported 168 police shootings, but they found 879 police shootings. And, they're talking all that accountability stuff. I kind of chuckle at that. And the reason why I do, ladies and gentlemen, since the police existed in this country, they have never gone above and beyond to hold these departments accountable. So when I hear accountability from these folks, it's almost laughable. It's laughable. It's just like, if y'all remember, a couple of years back, if you were on YouTube and we were getting into some kind of heated disagreement online, here they come with some fake out statistics trying to prove that Black people commit all the crimes. And every time they would report the numbers, you could eyeball those numbers and can tell they were lying. So these folks are notorious for playing around, fudging numbers, lying and undercounting things. This is what they do. Their whole existence is undercounting numbers or overcounting numbers that to favor themselves. I mean, they always play around with numbers. Always. Getting a real number from them is downright laughable. So let's get into this. So, as fatal police shootings increase, more go underreported. So, the vast majority, because it's not mandatory in America for obvious reasons, they don't want this to be mandatory because then you'll see how bad it really is. So, they do not require the police departments to turn in shootings that can be recorded by the federal government every year. So, despite renewed scrutiny of police use of force, millions of dollars spent to encourage local law enforcement to report the data, and they still won't do it. And they could fix this problem. All they got to do is, if they don't report the number of police shootings from each department, don't fund them. Don't give them any funding until they do report it. And the numbers must be accurate. So if they try to undercount the numbers and turn it in, don't fund them. Don't give them any kind of funding. I bet if you did that, you'll see a big turnaround and everything will get reported. Even though the federal records indicate that fatal shootings by police have been declining nationwide since 2015, the Washington Post Fatal Force database shows the opposite is true. Officers have shot and killed more people every year, reaching a record high in 2021 with 1,047 deaths. And then you know what they do? They got the nerve to try to make you believe Hebrew Israelite groups are hate groups, as if they're out here doing all this killing and robbing and everything. And here you got cops on the force and they're shooting an awful lot of people that are not even a threat to them. And okay, so they're saying in 2021, 1,047. And remember, they want you to fear the Taliban. The Taliban kills less people every year than the US police departments do. So the FBI database contains only about one third of the 7,000 fatal police shootings during this time, down from half when the Post first started tracking. So only one third of police departments are reporting data to the FBI. All of the rest of them are not reporting a thing. Fatal shootings by officers in at least 2,250 police and sheriff department are missing from the past 7 years of federal records, according to an analysis of the database maintained by the Post, which began tracking the killings in 2015. The excluded data has created a misleading government picture of police use of force, complicating efforts at accountability. Y'all don't hold these police departments accountable. You like it this way too. This is the way you like it. The incomplete data also obscures a racial discrepancy among those killed by police that is larger than the federal data suggests. Black people are fatally shot by police far more than is evident in the FBI data. So they're saying the FBI data is not even showing you even half of the police shootings of Black men primarily. Are you surprised? No. Do y'all remember a couple of years back, maybe like 5 years ago, when I was on YouTube and we would do the videos on police shootings? It would be white people coming in our comment sections talking about white people get killed more by the police than you do. White people get killed. Remember when they were on that mess? And they could never produce one video that showed white people were getting killed by the police than black people. But we had a multitude of videos to show. Eventually, they stopped coming and doing that. You notice they don't even come and do that anymore. They tried to pull that for a hot minute. But when they could never produce all these videos of white people just getting torn up and shot and everything by the cops, then they stopped coming around our comment sections and posting that. Please. I don't even know why y'all trying to pull that mess in the first place. So among the missing data is shootings by officers in 440 departments whose local governments receive nearly $90 million in federal grants to track crime data and shootings from another 700 departments required by local law to report the killings to state authorities, but no higher. Like I said, if you want the truth, stop funding them. Let them know if you don't report these numbers, the number of police shootings, you will get no funding. That's how you fix it. In at least 34 states, laws require police to report crime data to the state. But most of the laws are vague about whether police shootings must be included, offering minimal accountability at the state or local level. The Post found. In California, for example, only half of departments' fatal police shootings appear in the FBI data. So, you know what? When we do the FBI data, just know it's very flawed. It's very flawed. You are not getting real numbers in that FBI report. Boston was among the larger departments with missing data. The Post documented 11 fatal shootings by its officers since 2015, but none of those are recorded in the FBI records. The Chicago Police Department reported 6 officer involved shootings, but the Post logged 45. Wow. They reported 6 shootings, but there were actually 45 shootings by police officers killing citizens. Well, if you weren't doing anything wrong, then you would need to, hide and not report the numbers. Isn't this almost like an admission of guilt? It is to me. Police in Boston, Idaho fatally shot 12 people whose deaths were not recorded in the FBI database. Mm, mm, mm. This shows that the data from the FBI database, has largely failed. Rashad Ray, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution and the University of Maryland professor who has testified at state and federal levels about police reform. I wish y'all would stop using that term. These police departments out here in America can't be reformed. You built the entire thing off of chattel slavery, and it still runs like chattel slavery because your intended target is always a black man, whether he's committing a crime or not. You shot an awful lot of them that were never committing any crime. So it still functions like it did back in chattel slavery. Nothing has changed. Some departments have received federal dollars for their shootings are unreported. So he said he speaks to how flawed the system currently is, not just the organizational structure of policing, but also the way the government fund operates. Mm, mm, mm. So listen to this, y'all. Chicago, as I told you, they reported 6 police shootings to the FBI, but when the Post did an investigation, they found 45 police shootings. Indianapolis PD reported 14 shootings. The Post actually found 20 shootings. Milwaukee PD reported 18 shootings, but they found actually 14 shootings. So they actually overreported. Detroit PD, 19 shootings were reported to the FBI, but there were actually 18. Cook County Sheriff's Department reported 0 shootings, and they had 0 shootings. So the FBI asked that roughly 18,000 law enforcement departments nationwide to report all homicides, including those by officers on duty, so that the information can be used for research and made available to the public. But compliance is mandatory only for federal law enforcement. The Post found that only around 290 local police departments reported all fatal police shootings to the FBI since 2015. So think about that, y'all. You got 18,000 law enforcement departments nationwide. Out of that, only 290 have been reporting their fatalities to the FBI since 2015. And right there, nothing that you get from the FBI is accurate. The decline in reporting is driven by multiple factors. So, in many cases, police departments simply choose not to report fatal police shootings to the FBI. In others, departments are required by law to send data to the state officials who neglect to forward it to the FBI. About a dozen departments told the Post that they had failed to report shootings because of the clerical errors or would improve their process. In New Mexico, Farmington Police Chief Stephen Hebe said that he incorrectly assumed that other departments that are called in to investigate his office shootings would report the homicides. Farmington police fatally shot 4 people over 7 years. Not one was listed in the FBI's public data. What we wound up learning is that we need to change how we're reporting. So, this is what the police chief said. If it's our actions, we need to be reporting it. Yeah, then, talk is cheap, buddy. So, in recent years, departments' contributions to federal data have dwindled as the FBI transitions to a more detailed reporting system. The Bureau said it rejects data that isn't properly formatted. So, criminal experts are saying the lack of accurate FBI data makes it difficult to know the full scope of police use of deadly force despite renewed scrutiny that began with the shooting death of 18-year-old Michael Brown in 2014 in Ferguson, Missouri. Experts say that the FBI flawed data conceals other patterns that could help the Justice Department identify troubled departments. Well, that's the whole point in withholding the information. So you can't pinpoint who is the most troubled departments in the country. If they're withholding information, you can never, ever get to that point where you can identify it and do something about it. And that's the point. That's why they don't want to give you the data. And they're claiming identifying troubled departments and lead to reforms. Y'all, please stop talking about reform. Y'all don't reform anything. So, a high rate of police shootings relative to other departments of a similar size could be a sign that the agency's officers need additional training. Yeah, well, I have yet to see police training and it was actually made the public safer. It doesn't. Without this kind of data, it's hard to have foresight of which agencies are going to have a problem, Kaplan said. In California, in Vallejo, the population 125,000, police have fatally shot 6 people in the last 7 years. FBI records do not include any of them. Mm-mm-mm. One of the people shot was Willie McCoy, a 20-year-old rapper who performed under the stage name Willie Bow. In 2019, police found McCoy either asleep or unconscious in his car, and it was in a drive-through lane of a fast food restaurant with a gun on his lap. I remember this. I remember this. I remember this. When he woke, he got hit with a barrage of 55 bullets. Somebody asleep is that big of a threat to you, huh? Sleeping is a threat. Yeah, I remember when that happened. And his family never got justice. Nothing. All right, so the report found that the 6 officers involved were legally justified in the shooting, although one was fired for handling his firearm in a way that officials could have endangered a fellow officer. McCoy's family disputes that he had a gun on his lap and has filed a civil rights and wrongful death lawsuit in federal court. The allegations are just that, allegations. Lawyers for Vallejo said in a filing asking the judge to dismiss the case, they are not proof that Vallejo PD personnel actually used excessive force. The suit is pending. McCoy's death was those of 5 others are absent from the FBI public database. So man, look at how much discrepancies are here. But I remember back when they would heavily say, "Oh, well, let the system work." When have your system ever worked? When have your system hasn't worked since it's been in existence? So, the Attorney General's office says it relies on departments to report accurately and follow up to offer support. But the law has no penalty for non compliant departments. Yeah, that's why they're not reporting nothing. The Post found that 500 fatal shootings in California, nearly half of the state's total since 2015, were missing from the FBI data. The racial disparity in fatal police shootings in California is far larger than the nationwide disparity. But I thought it was a good old liberal California. Good old liberal California, huh? We knew you were full of crap. The Post has found Black people in the state are killed by police at nearly 4 times the rate of white people. In Vallejo, two of the people killed by police were Black, McCoy being one of them. Three were Hispanic, one was white. McCoy's brother Corey said the FBI records failed to capture the true picture of Vallejo police. The sirens should have been ringing years and years ago. Yeah, what he's saying is they dropped the ball and the FBI is not doing a thing about it. The FBI has been collecting summarized statistics from police departments since the 1930s, including those its Uniform Crime Report Program, or UCR. In the 1980s, the Bureau introduced the National Incident Based Reporting System to collect more details about the victims' demographics. In recent years, have shifted departments to this program. Yeah, well, you may have shifted them to the program, but apparently they're not using it. So, as an initiative, the Justice Department distributes about 285 million annually through the Justice Assistance Grant Program. State and local governments, which pass the money to the area police and sheriff's department, receive their share according to the formula that considers the amount of crime police department reports and the local population. So I think you pretty much got the gist of this whole thing, that everything we're getting in these reports are lies. And, they don't want you to know how bad it is, especially with them shooting Black men in this country. If they don't report it, then it looks like it's not that bad. And that's really their goal, is to, when we go to complain, they go look at, well, it's not that many. It's not that many that were killed. Oh, y'all over exaggerating. Oh, that kind of garbage. It's easy to do that if you don't have all the numbers. And it's easy to say that we're just whining when they are undercounting everything and fudging it and making it look a certain way. But at the end of the day, it's all lies that we're getting. So the lack of accountability on the state and local levels is the root of the missing FBI data. In Kansas, for example, departments must report all felony and misdemeanor offenses to the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, which says it sends the data to the FBI. The handbook on reporting data to the state notes that departments are required to report justifiable homicides. But the state bureau interprets the law to exclude them. Since a justifiable homicide isn't a crime, there is no felony or misdemeanor offense to report, Melissa Underwood, a spokeswoman for the Kansas Bureau of Investigation, said in an email. Only two departments in the state have fatal shootings in their database, leaving more than 60 deaths unreported over the past 6 years. So y'all just lying on the federal level. You're lying on the state and local level too with all of the data. I mean, why don't you just come out and say that? You're just a bunch of liars. So in 2024, at least 14 states had laws that specifically required reporting of fatal police shootings to the state. Of those 5 states, told the Post that they voluntarily forward data they received to the FBI's public database. Virginia is the only state that requires a state agency to report local departments' fatal police shootings to the FBI database. Still, the Post found that 63 fatal shootings by officers in 43 departments in the state are missing from the FBI data. Mm, mm, mm. A few states have consequences for failing to report, but those repercussions are often vague, and state agencies rarely, if ever, enforce them. The Post found no department that had been penalized for noncompliance. In Pennsylvania in 2004, law requires departments to report all offenses to the state police. The state police, which sends the data to the FBI, said it interprets the law to include fatal shootings by police. Mm, mm, mm. So, although the law specifies the funding should be withheld for noncompliance, the state police said they are unaware of any departments having been penalized. Departments typically comply, said Miles Snyder, a spokesman for the state police. So there were more than 50 fatal shootings by police in Pennsylvania, and that is missing from the FBI data over the last 7 years. Snyder and some departments have not switched to the FBI's new reporting system, whose format, he said, prevented the state from forwarding those department data. Pennsylvania law does not require police to transition to the new reporting system. Yeah, so, they got all these little loopholes here. Wow. Mm, mm, mm. So, for those grieving after a deadly shooting by police, the realization that their loved ones remain uncounted by the FBI deepens the pain of their loss. Mm. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a disgrace. You know, America should be ashamed that you run your agencies the way that you do, but we know you don't have no shame. The devil don't have no shame, y'all. They don't care that they're underreporting these numbers. They don't care that when we look at these public numbers, they know at the time they're revealing it to us that the numbers are all flawed, and a lot of police departments didn't even report their numbers. They are fully aware of this and don't care at all. But we're supposed to trust you? I don't think so. I will never trust you. Y'all, please tell me what you think about this video. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.